Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I'm your host, Stan Rattan, and this is a blue collar wine show where I try to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. That's what I care about. Helping you to buy a good bottle of wine for what they're charging for it. And continuing on the Washington Wine Month theme, we are going to taste 4 cabs from Washington State. Now, Washington State, second largest producer of wine in the United States, and it's amazing how the incredible difference between how much California produces and then you go to Washington, it's about 188,000 gallons of wine. But man, I mean, California's in the millions. But interesting point, and I'm not huge on wine scores. I grade the wines because I think that falls into subjective, which wine is, as you know. What I like, you might not like. I do have somewhat of a retail palate. I will say that. I do know what a lot of my customer base likes. That's my goal, is to find the right bottle of wine for each person watching the store. But the point is, in the Wine Spectator, there's a higher percentage of Washington wines that have gotten 90 or more points scored than any other producing region in the world. And the price point is way down there compared to others. Like France, for instance, I think it was like the average price was $109, and you got Washington, it's the $40 range, and California is a little bit higher. But amazing the percentage of wines from Washington that have actually scored 90 or more points from the Wine Spectator. So Washington wines are well respected by wine critics and by wine lovers. And I know we're getting close to the end of the month. I'm going to change up a little bit. Next month, obviously, first 2 weeks, I'm going to be in Portugal. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any shows online there. I'm bringing my camcorder. I'm going to do some shoots there. Might be 2 weeks before an episode comes out, but it'll all be about my Portugal trip, which I'm very excited about. Portugal and Spain for 2 weeks with my lovely wife, Bridget. We're going to have a good time, and I'm really looking forward to that. But Washington, as I pointed out, is known mostly for, well, let me rephrase that. I think they make great Merlot, great Riesling. You know, Chardonnays are getting better, and Cab has always been a big part of Washington wines. And Cab is king in the reds. #1 selling red in the United States is Cabernet Sauvignon, and it's the second most selling wine behind Chardonnay. So let's get started. We are going to start with a wine called For a Song is the name of the winery, and believe it or not, it's owned by a wine distributor. And it is very reasonably priced. Let me give you a shot of the label. I don't know what was that pregnant pause about? There you go, For a Song. They have really cool labels. And on the back, it says bottled by For a Song Wines. So it means they get the juice from somewhere else. It's certainly, it would say produced and bottled by. And maybe I can just show you that. And I have the price written on the back, $12. I have it at the store right now for $10. But let me see if you can see that. I don't know. Let's see right there. Maybe not. Let my camera adjust. Yeah, it says bottled by For a Song. So what they do is they find some Cabernet Sauvignon that they like from a producer that they respect, and that producer bottles it under the For a Song label. Just a little FYI for your information. If they make it, it'll say produced and bottled by on the back. If they buy the juice, it'll say cellared and bottled by, or in this case, just bottled by For a Song. Let's see what we get on the nose. Kind of some dusty cherries and currants. A little toastiness from the oak, no doubt. I'm sure it doesn't have a lot of oak at $12. Yeah, I get a little minerality, which is interesting. hints of black plum coming through, which is intriguing. I'm trying to come up with some other adjectives besides interesting. Yeah, not super exciting, but good. Let's see what we get on the palate. It's a little thin, but it has good flavors. I mean, I think it's finish is dusty. I mean, like dusty rocks. The cherries come through. The currants are there. None of the plum comes through. It's varietally correct. It tastes like a cab. I think it's a little thin on the finish, but it's got good flavors. I mean, you know, it's $10 at the store. At the store I work at, it's $10. You know, for $10, I would not feel like I'm being gypped. If you're looking for like an overachiever, this is not an overachiever. It's doing exactly what it should do for $10. Tastes like a cab, finished like a cab. Doesn't have very many tannins. It's fairly smooth tannins. Yeah, pretty thin. Pretty thin. I'm gonna go CC plus on that one. Average cab for $10. Let's move on to the next one. A little rinse. You know, I had a talk with a winemaker the other day, and he goes, you know, some wineries make the mistake of putting too much complexity on an inexpensive wine. In other words, they drop the price down. Maybe they're looking for volume, and they make this wine that maybe has some real tannic structure, and people will buy that wine looking for a $10 wine, and they get this, like, you know, tannin structured thing. I'm like, wow. You know, so the Forest Song is doing what it should do for $10. It's not overachieving. Now we're moving on. Get tired of hearing myself talk sometimes. Ross Andrew Winery, Glaze, Cabernet Sauvignon, Columbia Valley, 2012. What was the vintage on the Forest Song? I forgot. 2012. Also. Good vintage in Washington. I think I've mentioned that several times. So many of the wines that I'm tasting from 12 are fantastic. Now I met Ross Andrew, nice guy, great guy. He makes old world style wines. I'm curious how this one will taste. Rolls in at $15. Nice price point. Let's see what we get on the nose. As I expected, it's a little closed, because he does like to make more old world style. They need a little bit of time in the bottle. Stillman closure, by the way, screw cap. There's some nice, really nice, like dried herbs, like you're sitting in there making rosemary and thyme. Definitely some black and red currants coming through on the nose. But very, very close, very tight, which would indicate to me either it's not a very good wine or it is a young wine. It's 2012. We already know it's young, right? You know it's young in 2012. But some of these wines that are coming out are really drinkable right now. Let's see what we get on the palate. A lot more cab, what you'd expect for $15. Good minerality. That's what I like about Ross Andrew wines. And you know, a lot of people that I sell wine to, I wouldn't recommend that if they want a plush wine, but this has got good fruit. I get good black currant, little blackberry underneath. The herbs are kind of hanging in there. Very nice wine on the palate. You know, it's got a little tannic grip, like sandpaper on the back end, which is a good thing for cab. Great food wine. Again, that herbs coming through with the currants and the blackberries is just almost mouth-watering. And yet I can tell that this wine will benefit from, 3-4 more years in the bottle easily. I think I did an episode with an older glaze cab and it was fantastic. Ross Andrew does a good job of making wines that are age-worthy. And I'm not talking 15-20 years, but 5 to 8 years, they will definitely improve. It's polished up front, gets a little serious on the back end. Big slab of meat, baby. This would be beautiful. I love that finish. It's got a little brightness to it, like underripe, just barely underripe blackberries. Nice wine by Ross Andrew. I'm going to go A- on that one. Really like that. I think it's a good job. Way above average for $15. $15, baby. Good job. Let's move on to the next one. From a very long-time producer in Washington State. Now, Ross Andrew hasn't been around that long, but Canoe Ridge has been around a long time. Horse Heaven Hills 2012 from the Horse Heaven Hills appellation under the Columbia Valley bigger appellation. Cabernet Sauvignon, the Expedition Canoe Ridge Vineyard. This is only $1 more than Ross Andrew, $16. And Canoe Ridge, like I said, I've been drinking Canoe Ridge's wines for a long time. I've always liked them. Give them front row right now. Let's see what we get on the nose. Ooh, little asparagus, green bell pepper. This is a common thing for Cab. They can have some herbaceous qualities on the nose. This one falls into that category. A little bit of like blackberry brambly leaves, like the blackberry leaves. Currants underneath for sure. Very herbal on the nose also. And interesting about this wine is the asparagus, and you get that right off the bat and then it just kind of goes away. So you get it teases you a little bit with that. Yeah, really dark fruits on the nose. It's like a brooding giant waiting to come out. Almost like interesting, like a perfumey element on the back end. Let's see what we get on the palate. Okay, now, this is one of those cabs where a lot of people are going to like it because it's kind of plush up front. It doesn't go, I'm not talking fruit bomby, but it's got a nice plush like dark cherries and currants. And then right at the back end, you just get a touch of green bell pepper, asparagus, just a little bit. It's like just a hint, like an apparition. You just thought you saw it for a second, and then it's gone. Nice structure, and then you get it turns from dark cherry up front to more of a redder cherry on the back end. Nice currants, good flow across the palate. It doesn't get as serious as a Ross Andrew as far as that tannic grip on the back end. This one you could actually sit and enjoy a glass of Cab if you didn't want to have food. I know that's a big thing right now, but they call it cocktail wine. You don't blend anything with it. By the way, I do have a show coming up where I'm going to do some real, where in is it China or Japan where they put Coca-Cola in their Cab? Some put Coke in their Bordeaux. Crazy stuff. Curious to see how that tastes. And then the big thing now is take a rosé, put a little bit of club soda in your rosé. Want to try that too, just to see what people are doing out there. This has a little rose petal, violets, a little bit of tobacco, good fruit. I'm going to have to go A on that one, A-. A on the clump. I'm going to go A. I mean, I think it's doing a good job for $16. It's delivering some really good Cabernet Sauvignon. Yeah, I'm going to go A on that one. Let's move on to the next one. The Milgram boys, love these guys. Joshua Maloney, winemaker there, does an excellent job with the wines there. Butch and Jerry Milbrandt, nice guys. 2011 top vintage, Milgram Vineyards, The Estates, Cabernet Sauvignon, Wahluke Slope, Washington. They own a ton of vineyards in Wahluke Slope. There's no doubt their fruit. And this is the label. And so this is their estate wine. Right now with their Syrahs, they're doing what they call a, this rolls in at $22. So now we're getting up in the $20 range. Let's see what we get on the nose. Serious, deep, rich, spicy currants. I mean, it's in tobacco. I mean, it's, you know how somebody walks by and they just put on the right amount of perfume. Lady walks by and it's really good perfume, and you're like, wow. You know, it's better than the people that bathe themselves in perfume. You're like, ugh. You know, somebody that just does it just right. This is like, this nose is like, hey, there's some serious stuff going on here. Yeah, I'm getting really rich currants, a little bit of baking spice, spice from the oak, and I'm getting tobacco all day. Can hardly wait to see what we get on the palate here. That nose is incredible. I mean, this is one of those cabs where you just smell it and you go, wow. I hope it delivers. Wow. 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 And I'm not saying that just because I like the Milgram boys. You know, I'm more than willing to, you know, go thumbs down on a wine for $22 if it doesn't deliver, but this baby delivers. We're talking, it is loaded with black currants, but it's in check, structured, and the tobacco notes that come through from front to start, and it finishes a lingering finish, a little bit of vanilla mocha coming through on the finish, not in spades. Don't get me wrong, it's just kind of lingering back there with the black currants, and I'm getting violets on this big time. It has that kind of, you know, get serious on the finish. There's tannins there, partly wood, partly grapes, getting tannins. You could have, again, a big slab of meat with this, you'd be more than happy, but I'm telling you, it drinks so good, so full, and the spice, I'm getting like this white pepper and spice thing going on, hanging on my gums, hanging on my lips. Tobacco notes complement the fruit. It's just all well put together, very seamless. You know, I went A on the Expedition. I'm going to go A+ on this wine. It's, for $22, it delivers big time. Now, I know I seem like I'm being generous. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm in a generous mood. I don't know. But you call it like you call it. And that's an A+ cab for sure. You know, I hope you're enjoying these programs. I enjoy doing it. I love talking about wine. Cheers. And here's to keeping the snob out of wine.